Hey guys, so we are here talking about global shafts, and we're going to talk about the top 5 global shafts that we have ranked. We being me, Nolar, and True. Does anybody hear whale noises? I think I hear a little bit.
Not here. No.
Not here.
No. So this website that you're seeing right now on your screen is courtesy of the Dokkan wiki. And what this website, what this page is it's talking about all the errors. Oops, pop up again. All the errors, changes, and problems that have occurred throughout the history of the game, both on the JP and global side. This part is going to be mainly focusing on the global side, and then Nolar's channel is going to have a video talking about the top 5 JP shafts. Yes, they exist, contrary to popular belief. So I will leave a link to that in the description below. Make sure to check that out. All 3 of us will be there as well. So we have a few honorable mentions before we get into the top 5 here. We're just going to go through this. I don't want to spend too much time on honorable mentions, but the first one is going to be talking about Easy A's just being overall just delayed on the global version. And I think the 2 biggest culprits of this are Janemba and Golden Frieza, the Tech Golden Frieza. Because I believe Janemba was like 9 months delayed. It was a very
something like that.
Yeah, it was a very long delay. Do you guys remember that at all?
Yeah, that one is particularly odd to me because, again, Janemba was not really tied to any specific celebration. Because one thing with Global, they do seem very obsessive about keeping certain aspects of celebrations together, which is what led to Tech Golden Frieza and then, Universe 6 Story Event, all that being super delayed. But Janemba, they really could have just dropped at any time. Yeah, because he came out in December of 2018 for JP. He came out in August for Global. So, that's quite a long time indeed.
Yeah, and then a similar thing with Golden Frieza. We'll specifically talk more about Golden Frieza later because he's actually part of a bigger thing that we'll discuss later. But, just in general, I feel like Global just got what? They got the physical Vegito Blue as well as Rosé first. So yep. I feel like recently they've been trying to rapid fire out a lot of the Easy A's to make up for that. But there was a time period where Global was 7 Easy A's behind JP, and there was no way they were going to catch up unless they just started pumping these out just one after another.
Yep.
So that's Easy A's being delayed. Next one we have are units taking too long to come back. And this was actually a pretty big shaft. I considered adding this to the main list over one of the ones we had. And this, you could take a look at a lot of the main culprits of this. Turles didn't come back for, 11 months or so after its initial banner. I think the big one also is Hit, Tech Hit. He came back, obviously was a global first. Came during Christmas. We'll talk more about him later, but he didn't come back for a full year. And yeah, go ahead.
Turles, right? The reason for his delay was he was on the Transforming Goku and the Transforming Frieza banner, right? And then, of course, because Turles had come out 2 weeks earlier on Global, they just didn't have him on those banners. Yeah, that's what. Okay,
yep, and that is also a point that I have here, which was the 250 million download banners weren't comparable to JP. But
it's the 250 million download and the 200 too, because the 200 million download celebration, that was Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. It was the exact same thing.
Yep.
Where their global banners were real bad.
Yeah, they were not comparable at all.
But I do remember they did bring back Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Was on Omega's banner, right?
Yeah, and that was literally the next banner. And they're like, oh, well, if you guys, if you didn't rainbow him during the anniversary, I guess you can pick up more copies here. But yeah, those 2 points sort of go hand in hand, so we'll skip through those. And then I believe the Transforming Goku and Frieza themselves took about 10 months to return on Global. I think they came back on the 3rd year banners? Was it 4th year? I can't even remember.
4th year.
4th year banners with Super Saiyan 4s. They literally didn't come back a single time, I don't think, in between the 250 million down celebration and the 4-year banners. That's almost a full year. So and then to make matters even worse, then they made up for that, quote unquote, by just including the Goku and Frieza on 14 banners after that, in a row. and people were just so sick of them. So I mean, it's just very bad pacing, I guess, is what I would call that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's that. All right, let's get rid of that. Next one is we have some story events were not accessible via keys, and still aren't. And I think the main offender of this, I've seen some people talking about this, and that's why I even have it on here, is the Dragon Ball Fusion story event. I think it's a special event where you.
Real quick, do you remember if that's been around multiple times on Global, or did that only ever show up once?
Well, you can't use keys, and it's only shown up once, right?
For some reason, I think it was more than once, but for whatever reason, you can't use keys on it.
Can you do the Arale stuff with keys?
No, you can't, and that's another point that I have too. Or the Arale and Kid Goku, never Dokkan Awaken on Global, and you can't. I don't think you can access their event with. I have to double check that, but you might be able to access the Dokkan event.
Okay, because on JP you could do it all. All the events are up, and the Dokkan event with keys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the Raleigh came back twice.
Yeah,
right?
on JP.
So,
yeah,
on JP. That's what I'm saying. So, like, technically speaking, it falls in line with the requirement of the event has to come back at least 2 times before you can use keys. You might be right where the Fusions one on Global. I swear it came out because how many Awakenings were there?
Well, let's see. There's Karoli. There's
Super Saiyan 3 Adult Gotenks, Barlot. Was Barlot on the second batch or was that the first batch?
Barlot was in the first batch. I think Bullpan also Dokkan.
Yeah,
yep.
Pandel.
Pandel, yeah. Pandel's actually, she was good when she came out.
Yeah.
I still use her.
I mean, both Pandel and Broadpan, if they got an EZA, they'd be interesting units.
Yeah.
Especially for Fusion. Fusion could use the help.
Yep.
All right, next point we have is that there's a difference between the orb events for JP and Global.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest difference there is the fact that Global doesn't have secret characters, and they kind of just work those into like the main fights in that stage.
Yep.
So yeah, go ahead.
This one I can explain, right? Because I've kept a close eye on this the whole time, because I started out as a Global only player when the orbs dropped on Global, right? Like, I remember when I was a Global only player, the biggest like jealousy I ever had was when the orb system dropped on JP, because it very much resembles the Final Fantasy X sphere grid system, if anyone has played Final Fantasy X. So I was like, oh my god, like that's my favorite level up system of all time. And JP got it. Then when it arrived on Global, it was different in a couple of ways. Number one, there's the orbs that appear on the floor. They were much more frequent on Global, but then the bosses drop 2 types of orbs. On JP, you fight the one boss drops small, one boss drops medium, the other boss drops large. On Global, they drop 2 types of orbs, but there's no secret character. On JP, you can fight a secret character, which at the time when the events first dropped on JP, it was like ultra rare. Like, people said they just like never saw it pretty much. And when you have to land on the spot too, so you can get shafted and miss it too if you have all 2s, which even happens to me occasionally now. But when you fight that, you get a huge amount of orbs for all 3, small, medium, and large. It's 500 small, which is a lot for just that one fight, right? Mm-hmm. Now, over time, they've updated like the orb events, and specifically JP, they made it a lot better. Like, now, nearly like every node on the floor is filled up with one of those things. And then specifically, they also increase the rates for those secret characters to where they're fairly common now. Like, I would say, I mean, Nolar, you could tell me, but throughout a given week, you'll see at least one of them from one of the 5 events.
Yeah, you'll see at least 1 to 2.
Oh, yeah, 2? Wow. Yeah, very generous for you then, damn.
Yeah, you could get shafted and not see any for like 2-3 weeks, but on average, you'll at least see 1 a week.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Now, this has become a real issue, specifically during big celebrations, like, you know, the anniversaries, download celebrations. Typically, during these events, they will have the all orb events open on the weekends. They do it every one of these big celebrations. On JP, the special character is the very last node, and they have a stop sign on it, so you fight them every single time. On Global, there is no secret character. So over the course of these big celebrations, JP gets enough orbs to rainbow maybe 1 or 2 more characters than what Global is even able to work with. That's kind of rough, honestly.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I mean, like, what would you say they would need to do on global in order to make up for that?
I mean, I think it's just very simple. Just make the global orb event the same as JP. Just update it. Like, no one would complain. I feel like that. Boom, just do that. Just make the global and JP ones exactly the same, and we're probably good from there. I mean, it would take an adjustment period, right? Because global players would be used to, we get all kinds of, like, or like you get small and medium from fighting like the first boss. It would be an adjustment that now, like, okay, you have to fight whatever boss for orbs you need. But then, during the celebrations, when the secret characters would show up, you get just so much more orbs. Now, I feel like one reason, too, that this could be weird with the orb events is the presence of Pilaf's Trove as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you supplement your lack of orbs, and this is their version of monetizing it with Pilaf's Trove, which in the beginning was absolute garbage. You wouldn't want to spend that. Now I think it's updated better, right? It's a lot more appealing.
No, the orb packs are still rip-offs.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was they did have like the like when UI Goku first came out, like they gave orbs plus tickets for his banner. Like that was super good. But just those orb packs pretty
like, cause
cheap.
I'm guilty of buying those every week when they first released, because back then orbs were so scarce that you really had no other options unless you just waited. But like nowadays I would never even think about it. Next, the last I guess honorable mention we have is that world tournaments were skipped on global, and not just one, like multiple world tournaments were skipped. And the biggest, I think, issue with that is the fact that specifically AGL Bardock, I think his title is Lone Warrior, that AGL Bardock was never released on global. He came out in JP, I have it pulled up. His release date on JP was August 4th, 2015. He came out
was like the second or third prize, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then on global, he came out on October 6th, 2017. That's like what, like 15 world tournaments apart? And that's not even the worst part. The worst part is they added him to the banner, I think unfeatured. I don't remember. I can't recall if he was featured or unfeatured. I'm pretty sure he was unfeatured because
I'm almost positive he was unfeatured.
Yeah, because I was going so crazy when I pulled him, and I was like, oh my god, because how long is it taking you to pull one copy of LR Piccolo unfeatured?
Okay, well, honestly, I think this is the truth. My very first summon, when he was added to the banner, I pulled him. But then after that, it was like 250 ticket summons until I got him again. It was something.
So what, like 2 years later, you pulled him again?
Yeah. That's exactly right.
So
no, about 2.5 years.
So I'm on path to rainbow this Bardock in 8 years. Yeah, so it's just very stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the honorable mentions. We'll go on to the actual list now. Number 5, we have... I'll pull it up here if you guys can see this. We have the blue Kaioken Goku banner, the original one, the AGL one. This is the global version of the banner. Obviously, this being the Global Shafts video. On the JP version of the banner, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta was not here. It was AGL Super Vegeta, who at this point in time was pretty easily the best unit in the game. Like, wasn't even close.
Yeah, and
still the king at the time.
Yeah.
His only contender really for a while was like Buhan, but Buhan wasn't even out yet on global. He came out in years.
Yeah. So this banner came out right after Gotenks. Like literally, it overlapped with the Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks banner. And the biggest part about the shaft is if you look at the news, like the image on the banner didn't have this error, but in the news, they had like the image file of like Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta like superimposed over Super Vegeta, and you could see him on the banner image. It was like a 4-year-old was like, hey, look, like they were like, all right, guys, like we have like 2 minutes to upload this to the servers. Like someone just quickly like Photoshop Vegeta over Vegeta.
Not a good one for sure.
And to be honest, this didn't end up being like too big of a shaft, just because of the reason that Super Vegeta ended up being on like that super ridiculous step-up banner for Christmas, which was a very good banner to summon on. So this ended up not being like a super huge shaft, but like just the fact that they did this, it's like a slap in the face, and it just shows you that they don't really care, right? That's what I get from this.
Yeah. I believe that was the introduction to step ups on global, that Christmas banner.
Yeah,
which at the time also was the best banner in the game's history.
You could make the argument too that this is still a shaft in terms of like the quality of the banner though, just because of the fact that if they had Super Vegito on here and you ended up pulling Super Vegito from this banner, you wouldn't have to summon on the step up banner. You could make that argument.
You could.
That's true.
That was back when. Well, I guess on JP the orbs system did exist, so people would know better. But like that was back when it's like you pull one copy and you're good, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Unless you didn't want to have to farm Kais or whatever.
That banner did have Gotenks on it though, who had just come out. So I'm sure not many people had him. And then Gogeta was still very coveted as well.
Yeah. Okay, so that's number 5. Let's get rid of this. Number 4 is what we just saw happen not even 24 hours ago as of this recording. Strength Cooler was replaced by Blue Kaioken Goku, the Strength version on Beerus's banner. Now, the reason why I consider this to be a major shaft is so many people were specifically saving their red coins for Cooler. So much so to the fact that I know, like in my comments, people were saying how they were skipping purchasing a Super Saiyan 4 LR that they didn't have because they wanted to buy a copy of Cooler that they knew was coming out on this banner.
Oh wow!
And now they're just screwed because who knows when they're going to return because they're not coming back on the anniversary banners. They've never come back on JP after that.
Right now, it's like a less than 1% chance, I would say.
Yeah, so it's this change to me. The reason why I find this is like such a big shaft for global is because this signifies that you can no longer accurately predict anything for global. And that was one of the big reasons why I'm even playing global is because like I like to be able to be like, okay, well I know this is coming, so I can do this with my stones. I can spend on this banner and do blah 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 blah. And now it's like, okay, that's completely out of the window, and I can't even plan accordingly. It's kind of just like a JP version, but it's you can't like predict anything at this point. So I even made an announcement on my YouTube page. I was like, hey guys, I usually do like the like how to spend your stones videos. I'm canceling any further installments in that series because I just can't say anything you literally cannot predict anything anymore. So like that's why I find this is such a big shaft for global.
And just to make the point, like it is, but it works to Akatsuki's favor, right? Because they don't want you to skip banners and save stones. They want you to spend on every banner if possible. So the fact that you're now in the dark as to, besides the anniversary, because I'm 99% sure the anniversary is going to be the same as JP, because I don't think they've ever changed anniversary banners. But aside from the anniversary banners and like the shared celebrations, you can't rely on JP as a blueprint as to how to save your stones anymore, and that's a win for Akatsuki. Then on top of that, you didn't mention. They still have SR Cooler featured, and the story event came back. So they just swapped them out and left everything else the same.
Yeah, that's similar to what I was just saying with Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta being over the Super Vegeta. Like it's the same sort of like slap in the face feeling where it's like they just don't care when they do this. Like this was clearly like a 5 minutes before the banner release like thing where they were like, oh, just replace Cooler with Kaioken Blue Goku and like edited him in onto the banner image, and like, they just left the Cooler event up. And they left the SR Cooler on the banner. Like,
yeah.
Right.
They didn't care enough to like fix everything else to make it seem like, oh yeah, this was all planned all along. It like Gresh says, it seems like it's last minute planning, and damn, that's what happened.
Yep. Yeah, and then also just to go one more thing on this is, they very easily made this banner worse just for putting this guy over Cooler, and that is like a sort of counterintuitive to what they want people to be doing right now, which is spending all their stones for the anniversary. So like I don't like, do they think that Kaioken Blue Goku is more desired than Cooler? Like they have to, right? That's the only reason why they would ever do this.
Yeah, I guess so. That must be it. Yeah.
So that tells me they're also just disconnected with what their player base wants, which is not good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that. I think we've pretty much
covered all that.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll get rid of this.
I mean, they very easily could have just said, okay, transform Vegeta later. Get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on like 400 that also goes to my point that I was making earlier in the honorable mentions, which is that the units are just constantly returning like 4 banners in a row, which is like, it's so annoying.
Okay. Yeah, just real quick before we move on, the point is like they could have made the banner better by getting rid of Transforming Vegeta and put Cooler in there, or vice versa, just have both with all of them in there. And just like other gacha games would that have JP and Global, the expectation is Global gets exactly the same as JP, if not better. At the very least, meet that expectation, and if you could possibly do it, make it better. So, and this point is it's June, a month before the anniversary. The point is you want them to spend all their stones. This is not the banner to do it. So like they are just completely disconnected from the player base and what their goal is.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay, so that was number 4. Moving on to number 3, it's kind of a mixture of a few things. This is my point for this is global first / shared celebrations are always very lacking. And what I mean by that, specifically, we'll talk about the hit celebration, otherwise known as, I think it was like Shitmas or something. So we're going to go through what JP's celebration was, and we're going to specifically highlight things that JP got versus things Global didn't get. So Global got the banner, obviously, with hit on it, which is all this stuff here, so that's fine. JP got this, but Global didn't. Farmable Vados. This is the story event. Farmable Vados, farmable numerous 6 Namekians, farmable Champa, and then a farmable hit who you could just use. This is like a free Super Attack 10 on hit. This saves you 10 Elder Kais, and if you're like a free-to-play player, like that's a huge deal.
Because he drops, he's a native SSR. So it's easy as hell to farm him.
Okay, that's step 1. Step 2, the Bojack event renewal. This did not come to Global for like 8 months or something. Like, okay, so this celebration actually happened December of 2018 for Global. This didn't get the revamp on Global until the following December. So a year later, this with Kaioken Blue Goku, this event got its revamp. A year later than it should have came to the. All this stuff came a year later, by the way, because they were so intent on like making sure everything was
the same.
Yeah, they were so intent on making sure everything was together for God knows what reason. So that's that. Tech. The only thing that didn't really come a year later was Tech Golden Freeze EZA, but still that was majorly delayed, like multiple months. And then finally the LR Kill and Caulifla banners that also brought Tech Caulifla and Strength Kale. So what is that, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units, one story event revamp, and 1 EZA that were just completely skipped during that one celebration.
Yeah.
Yep. That, I mean, is there any excuse for that? I don't think so.
Well, this is why Global Firsts have become very counterproductive, because it's like they will drop a hype unit, or at least what they think is very hype, on Global at the expense of really messing things up. We're talking units being thrown all out of whack on these banners. You know, that's the direct problem with Hit and Turles like never coming back on Global, is because they do sort of follow like this JP like line with these banners, but then when there's a Global First unit, it's just like they don't really properly think ahead of how they can put the unit in Global, release them, and then have like a concrete plan going with banners and units and stuff like that. They just sort of toss it out and they're like, we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, that is how it feels, right?
Yeah. And like that, really, many of the game's issues currently related to Global, I really feel like it's just all related to Global First stuff. Like they just do a very, very piss poor job of handling Global First content. Like, you know, you even look at what is it, like I lost my train of thought. No. It slipped away. What are y'all gonna have to tag in? No,
all right, I'll move on. And then besides just the hit celebration, we have like Saiyan Day both years, because Saiyan Day last year brought the Copy Vegeta event. I think it was like what is it called? The planet like Patafo or something. I don't remember what it was.
Yep.
But that copy Vegeta, it was a shared celebration. Like, why is that Copy Vegeta like? Are they scared that Copy Vegeta is gonna like break the balance of the game? Like, what is the problem? Like they delayed copy feature for 8 months. He didn't come until December or something, or like November, or one of those times.
It literally makes no sense. Like that actually makes no sense. Even in that Saiyan Day celebration, it was just weird because JP got the Rage Trunks and Blue Vegeta Gallic Gun EZA, and then Globals they got it a week later for no reason. It's just like, okay, it's 1 week later on Global.
Yeah, maybe the translations guy was like on vacation or something. I don't know.
But those units were already out.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, when you have dual combined celebrations, there's no reason to ignore the global side. So, like, Extreme Super Battle for this past Saiyan Day, right? Like, I don't know if that was like a big deal to hold back for. Like, I mean, I don't know why they would hold it back for global when it could have just dropped at the same time, because there's nothing other than equips and maybe stickers or something. Like, they were, other than specific features for JP, there's no reason to drop that, not to drop it on global. That's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, and that was the last sort of point I had for this number 3, was that the Saiyan Day 2020 literally it was a shared celebration, yet the celebration on global ended up being like 100 times worse because of the fact that they just decided it was okay to delay the Extreme Super Battle Road, which was, I mean, I was so excited for that, and then they were just like, yeah, you know what, global doesn't get this yet. Okay, so that's
it was just inconsistent because the last 2 years with much bigger things, active skills and transformations, they said, yeah, whatever. UI Goku's going to introduce it on global. Gohan and Goten are going to introduce it on global. But it's like a much smaller deal. Equipment and stickers are like, whoa. Can't be putting out early. Are you kidding me? We got to save that.
yeah, that's literally what happened. All right, so now we're going to get to the top 2.
Okay. Okay, so more so continuing on the point of global first messing things up. When we have global first units, right? Look at the siblings bond category, right? When that first came out, it was a broken mess, right? Like, remember transforming Vegeta was not on it. Like, I believe he only got it in his last couple of transformations or something like that. Or like Evolution Blue Vegeta, what was he, not on the Vegeta family category when that first came out?
Yeah, he wasn't.
Yeah, because they hadn't updated it to where there's more spots for categories and stuff like that. Like, this global first leads to many, many problems on the global side of things, right? Or at least not necessarily global first, but when units release at the same time, which I believe is our next thing, right?
Yeah, so the top 2 are kind of like far and away more egregious than the other 3 that we have on here. So I imagine most of you people know number 2. Maybe not a lot of people know number 1, but we'll go number 2 here. As soon as you guys see this character on your screen, you probably already know what this is going to be, but to be released is the leader skill. If you guys weren't playing back then, I think it was the 200 million download celebration.
Yeah.
So this was the first ever, and still to this day, the only Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta that has released in the game. And this was the first time ever that they had a joint celebration between Global and JP. So people were super hyped for this. They were like, "Oh man, like finally, like the games are getting on the same timeline, and this is gonna be great." And then the banners came out, and the leader skill said to be released, and what that meant was exactly what it said. There was no leader skill. And the next Dokkan Fest came out, and there was no leader skill. Then the next Dokkan Fest came out, and the next one, and then the one after that, and then a million Dokkan Fest released, and this guy still had no leader skill. And it took many, many, many months before this guy finally got. And the same thing with Omega, because they were both category leaders. And I guess their reasoning for not putting the leader skills on these characters at the time was because the global was not ready at the time for the leader skills, because they had just jumped into the
120.
Yeah, into the 120 meta.
Yep.
And I guess they felt uncomfortable essentially going from 70% to 150% so quickly. But it just feels so bad if you're a global main and you're like, oh, like global is finally getting the spotlight here, and it's just like you can't even use them as leaders. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, go ahead, Truth. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was bad, right? Because the other thing too is that leading up to it, okay, when we very first got word that Gogeta was even around in the data. Renzi had found on the test server oh, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's here, but it was on globals. So
yeah, I remember that.
I mean, you know how they are off to the races, oh, global for Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and then it was announced at the same time officially in game on both global and JP, right? And then so the JP Twitter, they introduced the categories to us on Twitter and stuff like that. We were going through it, we were seeing what the categories were. Everyone was real upset because remember they left off Super 17 and they split. At first we thought Fusion, oh boy, Gogeta, Vegito, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's oh, they're splitting them up for no reason in the world at all. Okay, well, sure. And they were dead silent on global leading up to it. And then we didn't know that they weren't even going to have their leader skills until the game went into maintenance, because that was when they were doing this thing where they put the game into maintenance with these big banners, and then they let people into waves. So the very first people to get into the game see on the scouter that their leader skills are to be released. And then on JP, we're summoning for the two best characters in the game, the best leaders in the game. It was very, very bizarre. It was very surreal. It's not a good idea whatsoever.
I thought that was fake. When it said to be released, I was like, okay, someone photoshopped this just to show a global shaft. Come on, guys. This can't be real. I literally thought it was fake. And then I saw it. I was like, holy crap, they did it. They really shipped it global.
Yeah.
I felt bad. I felt really bad. And like you said, it took them however long to finish the 120 meta and then introduce the categories, and then they got their leader skill. But until then, you had to run them under super tech leads, so Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and then Extreme Physical, Cooler's lead. You just had to run them there. You couldn't run them on their full potential, and that felt really bad.
And the timing was so planned, because so Omega you would only be able to really use under Cooler's leader, and Cooler was the next Dokkan Fest. And then guess who's after Omega? Super Saiyan 3 Goku for Gogeta.
I specifically remember people were thinking at a time that were people saying that Omega was going to be the Extreme Physical leader? I swear that was the case.
I mean, I'm sure a few people were saying that, yeah.
Yeah, I think they thought that Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta was going to replace Angel Goku as the tech leader, and then Omega was going to replace Cooler as the physical leader.
I mean, honestly, sure, I would have taken that over to be released.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you would have taken the secondary leads, right? They're both super tech and extreme physical, 50%. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so. And the fact that it just persisted for so long. I mean, we had to go through 9 more Dokkan Fests before they got their leader skills, because we had to go through the rest of the 9 leaders, right?
Yep.
Well, I know. I don't think, because they released on Thanksgiving with Gogeta and Janemba. Because remember, okay, this is a great point, because people always talk about global shafts, and they always refer to the Gogeta and Janemba banners, which, I mean, this is actually very similar to what's going on with Beerus and Cooler, right? Where people were specifically waiting for the JP version of the Gogeta and Janemba banners. They were changed. I believe Super Saiyan 4 Goku specifically was taken off of those banners when a lot of people were hoping he was going to remain there. But Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Omega were added to the banners, which is a huge win. But people were still mad, and people to this day still say the banners were worse, even though they had Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Omega on them. And that was when the categories were introduced.
Yeah, I mean, you said it was similar, but the only reason why I would disagree is because of the fact that most people were just upset about the Beerus banner, because they were saving their red coins, and they specifically missed the opportunity to buy LR Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta or Goku because they thought Cooler would be on this banner.
Yeah.
But okay, that pretty much sums up the to be released situation. It was very bad. There's a reason why they haven't done it again. Let's just say that.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and a lot of you, I think a lot of the player base out there who weren't around, they would assume that this is the #1 global shaft, right? But
yeah.
We have something bigger in store.
Yeah, this is. I think #1 is not even. It's in a different tier than the other 4 that we've talked about. So I think the first 3 are pretty bad. Then the to be released is in its own tier, and then 3 tiers above this tier is #1. So,
yeah, and I feel like a lot of people don't even know about this.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to. I'm gonna pull up a Reddit post, and then we're gonna have to give some some
background on it?
some background on this. So if you guys aren't aware, this guy on Reddit, I think he was a mod called The Laughing Man. He used to run a website where he would track the rates of all the Dokkan Fest banners, even just every banner, not even just Dokkan Fest banners. Every single banner, he would have like multiple bots running different accounts. They were just constantly rolling, and basically he would just be pulling like massive amounts of characters, and he would record all the data down into like a database. And based off of all those summons he was doing like literally like tens of thousands of summons.
Yeah.
So based off of that info he was accumulating, you were able to accurately sort of like pinpoint, okay, the rates on this banner are 4%, the rates on this banner are 5%. And keep in mind, this was back before the game was mandated by the Play Store or the App Store to like show disclose the rate. Disclose the rates, the pull rates of all the characters and like the rates of the banner. So what happened was the first year anniversary was finally going to come to global, and at that point everybody was like, okay, Gogeta's like the best unit ever in the history of video games, so we're going to all save our stones to pull Gogeta. So what did they do? As soon as the banner dropped, they lowered the rates of SSRs. So I mean, you guys are seeing, I'm not going to read all this because you guys can just pause the video and read it yourself. This video is already going on for very long, but this is a post by Rhymestyle explaining that he was meeting with the developers, and like there's evidence and proof based off of all the data accumulated that they intentionally lowered the rates of characters and banners in the game because they knew people were saving all their stones for this banner, and they were like, okay, well, yeah, if you're going to save all your stones, then we're just going to lower the rates. And us not having that information to see on the banner, okay, the rates are this, or they're this or this. Like, they had free reign to do whatever they wanted, and they literally could have lowered the rates to like 0.01%, and nobody would know because people would just think it was RNG, right? But with all of this massive amounts of data that this guy was accumulating, we could see that like at any given point in time, okay, the rates are lower now, don't summon, or the rates are higher now you can feel free to summon. So that lack of transparency, that lack of information was like the biggest shaft because it allowed them to fluctuate the rates and artificially increase or lower them, which was just like the scummiest thing ever this game's ever done. And it's not even close.
Yep.
I was a global main at the time, so I started in May of 2016, and I was excited for Gogeta because I love Gogeta, and everyone on JP who I was talking to was like, yeah, you should get him. He's going to be great. Dude, I went 125 paid multis. Remember, this is before GSSRs, before coins. Yeah, it was rough. And there were dead multis everywhere. I'm talking 9 Rs and an SR because it's SR guaranteed or high, at least, right? So yeah. I'm talking dead multis. Yeah, when I found out that like that's what the global side was doing, I was pretty pissed. And eventually, it heavily contributed to me leaving global and going to JP. I mean, I joined JP because Buhan, I really like Buhan. I decided to join, but I was already out the door because of that. And yeah, that's just probably the scummiest thing because you had no clue, and the rates were fluctuating. Like, I don't know like how consistent they were fluctuating, but the fact that they were doing that, yeah, yeah.
I think if this were to happen today, there would the game would probably be done. Like, if there was evidence that they were doing this, like, the game would not survive. Look, we saw what happened with like the whole 300 stones thing, whatever. We'll talk about that in part 2, but and I mean, the only reason why we can't show you what the actual rates were is because this website no longer exists, unfortunately. Otherwise, we'd go here and show you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's pretty much. It doesn't get any worse than this. Like, this is, if I started the game and I knew about this, because at this point in time, I didn't know this was like, this was happening. There's no way I would have kept playing the game. There's 0% chance. Just based off of like what they were doing here. So.
Yep.
That's our number 1. You guys want to say anything before we wrap this up?
No, just yeah. There, when you guys say global chefs, there have been definitely, as I think we've proven with the honorable mentions and the top 5, and number 1 being what it is. But there is a solution, right?
Oh yeah, there's
get rid of all the chefs.
Yep.
So go ahead, tell us what it is, Truth.
Just get the games lined up. It's not hard. It's just very simple. And the thing is, a lot of times people will say like, oh, oh, what are they going to do? Are they going to stop releasing content on JP? Are they going to move things way too fast on global? Oh, dude. Blue Kaioken Goku came out on December 21st. Buhan dropped on goddamn New Year's. That's like 10 days apart, Dokkan Fest exclusives. And then Gotenks dropped on like Thanksgiving. So that's like 3 Dokkan Fests in like 4 weeks on global back then, right? There's been periods, JP in 2018, they released LR Int Vegito and LR Physical Gogeta 3-year anniversary units on like January 30th. The next Dokkan Fest exclusive banner was UI Goku on Saiyan Day, March 18th. They went that freaking long. So like, it is so easy. All they do is they trim off, a week here, a week there for global, for Dokkan Fest exclusives, and then maybe they extend 1 extra week for JP, a week here, a week there. It would take only a few months. It would not take long at all. And, you just have a celebration where there's 2 EZAs instead. Like, look at JP. JP just got a celebration with AGL Rosé's EZA. We're going to get an EZA area for Cooler and Frieza free-to-play units. Then we're going to get the Kale and Khalifa EZA, right? Like, they've shown this before where they'll fill certain celebrations to the brim. It would not be hard. And then a common counter I get tossed at me for this, because I've been saying this for a while now. Because, like, most of the global issues that are prevalent in, like, today, it's just weirdness from global first units or units released on both global and JP at the same time. That's what is the issue. So, people will go, oh, but, they sort of stagger the banners so that Akatsuki, they always have like a stream of money releasing, throughout the month and stuff, blah, 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 blah. But that's not even true, because most of the time, global and JP are releasing banners within days of each other. They always line up. The reason is because they intentionally line global and JP up several times throughout the year to do celebrations together. Saiyan Day, download celebration. So there's really no excuse. There's nothing in the world. And like, you could say, oh no, but what about the anniversary? We got to keep the integrity of the anniversary. Yeah, sure. So global celebrates JP's anniversary with JP in January. Blue Vegito and Blue Gogeta came out at the same time in January, global and JP. How much more hype is everyone if that happens? Oh, they're here. Both versions are celebrating JP's anniversary. All right, now it's July. Guess what? Both versions are celebrating global's anniversary. Other gacha games have done this. I mean, Nolar, you definitely would be able to talk about this better than me, but like, Dokkan would not be the first to have done this.
No, they're not the first. There's a lot of like, well, the current one that everyone's talking about is Grand Cross. There's a JP Korean and then a global version. Netmarble, their publisher, really wants to. They very rarely like to have separate versions because they like to keep everything going at once because the hype is there. And then, of course, they make to further your point. It makes them more money because now everyone's on edge, not figuring out what's coming next, and then more people are pressured to spend. You see what I'm saying? Like global, the advantage you guys had was that you could wait and see, save, and pick your banners to go in on. Right now, they're giving you the blind eye and be like, I don't know. Like, I don't know when Cooler's coming back. I don't know when Future Gohan's coming back. So if everyone's on the same page and the hype gets surreal when every server's on the same schedule.
And guess
so
what? Global, okay, the main purpose of what they're doing, making money, they would make a hell of a lot more money if global is getting this stuff at the same time. There is no more saving and stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
It's, oh, Gogeta is here. I'm summoning. Oh no, I didn't pull him. I'll get a 90 stone pack, right? Boom. Like, it's just very basic, very simple. I just don't understand why they haven't done it yet, right? Because so many of the issues are correlated with that. The fact that global is typically 4 months behind is where they keep them for no reason in the world.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. I mean, I don't know. Like, there has to be a reason why they haven't done it yet. And I don't have, like, insider information about it. But all I know is that based off of their actions and based off of their... I don't want to say ignorance, but it's based off of like the fact that they haven't even gotten any closer to bringing them to the same page as they were back during the first year anniversary. Like, I don't know if they ever intend on doing it, but I don't know the reason for that. So I guess we're going to end there. Again, our solution is to just align both versions. I assume you guys are good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know what you guys think. Did you think our list, this is what we all agreed upon, do you think To Be Released should be number 1? Wouldn't fault you if you thought so, if you didn't understand the first year anniversary scumminess. But let us know what you guys end up thinking, and definitely check out the next part where we talk about JP. So,
yep. Make sure you guys check that out. Link, again, will be in the description. So, hope you guys enjoyed this one. See you all in the next one.